Welcome back to another video on our YouTube channel at Total Physical Therapy. Today we are going to be interviewing one of our staff members. I'll let him introduce himself. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here?
Sure. My name's Lee Hatfield, and I'm a physical therapy assistant here at Total. And I've been a PTA for about 12 or 13 years. And my background has been sports related. I started competing in sports at age 5 and played sports all through junior high, high school. Went on and got a physical education degree, taught for a number of years, taught gymnastics for 23 years. And then as I went throughout my career, I went back to school. And after going through PTA school, I still wanted to stay in the sports-ish orthopedic setting. And did that, and then kind of moved into playing golf and working with golfers in our clinic, and went and got some specialization with a Titleist Performance Institute, which is kind of they're the gold standard with golf fitness and golf rehab and golf performance, and that's kind of how I got here.
Okay. Tell us just briefly a little bit about the TPI certification that you got and how that helps you with what you're trying to do with your golfers.
Sure. TPI is based on a movement screen or assessment, and what it does is this looks from joint to joint, from head to toe, how well the body moves. And the body, we think sometimes moves very well, but if we take a look at it, we can see where we move very well and where we don't, and that can affect how we swing the golf club. And potentially, if we don't have pain or injuries, it could be an indication or indicator that we could have some problems down the road with our with pain or causing an injury to ourselves because things don't move like they're supposed to. So, and then what we do is once we find those deficiencies, we get them better, and then the ones that are clean or that we don't have any problems with, we just make better so that we can go out and play more golf and have fun playing when we're out there and not having to worry about pain.
And this is something that you include into your golf fitness classes that you have here at Total, right? You incorporate this. How do you incorporate that into your golf classes?
Well, when we do it, when someone comes in for the class, I do the TPI assessment. There's about 15 different movement patterns we look at. And then I look at how powerful you are, because people want to hit the golf ball further. I've never heard a golfer say, I want to hit the ball shorter. And so everyone wants to hit the ball further. But when we look at these assessments, if all of a sudden someone's very limber and has a lot of mobility, but they don't have the strength, they cannot control that movement very well, and that could be an indication of injury. And someone who's very powerful but can't move very well, that could be another problem also. So we look at those things before they start the class, and then I go through on a one-on-one basis just to go through what I see, or what I call the low-hanging fruit. Which things can we really address early and at the beginning? Because some of those things, they all you start seeing patterns in people, and golfers are no different than any other athlete that, all of a sudden you see, different athletes, different sports have, you start seeing a recurring or a repetitive injury or patterns in how they move. So, and we address those at the beginning, and everyone kind of knows up front what we're going to accomplish with the class.
One of the things I hear you saying, which is something I completely agree in, is that you're assessing the individual golfer. So whenever you're doing a golf fitness class, you're not catering to the general public, you're catering specifically to the individual, but in a class setting. Is that correct?
Correct. And like I said, I start to see patterns, and a lot of patterns is in the low back. And so, I might have 5 or 10 people in a class, but a lot of them are doing similar exercises because they have similar issues because they're golfers.
Right.
And so, if there are times when there are some outliers, what I would say, that have different issues, yes, they're addressed separately, and they have their own little sub workout, if you want to say, and then they join in with some of the other exercises that are appropriate for them. So I'm not going to give, two examples. I have a 90-year-old patient or client that was in our class, and I'm going to give him a different workout than someone of them who's 40. They're going to be doing some different things just because of how they move, how strong they are, and those types of things. Yeah. But my 90-year-old client did quite well in the class. So it was fun to work with him.
Yeah. So let's kind of pull back a little bit and kind of look at a bird's eye view. Why is strength and conditioning important for golf? Just kind of generally. You mentioned a little bit about power and that kind of thing, but how is it important for both the golfer who is just getting started in golf, but maybe also the golfer who's been golfing for 20 years? How can strength and conditioning help?
Well, I don't. Golf has probably gotten a reputation of being a very recreational sport or activity. But there's some significant forces that go through the body when you swing a golf club. And if you do that repetition, you're swinging the same way over and over, you can get what's called an overuse injury. And we try to look at those types of things, but also just the pure stress on the body when you swing a golf club. I don't have any numbers off the top of my head, but just the amount of force that's put through the body, especially the low back, if you're not having some type of, we call it lumbar stabilization or some core strength to help stabilize that low back so that it's not doing too much work and causing an overuse injury. So I would say just we've said it a little bit earlier, everyone wants to hit the golf ball further, but we don't train, a lot of golfers don't train like athletes. Mm-hmm. And, they go out and they take a golf club and they put it behind their back and do a couple of little stretches and they say, I'm ready to go. And that's probably not the best way about going about it. I think that there's some things that we can learn from other sports to apply to golf that, we can treat it more like a sport and not treat it as an activity and keep ourselves healthy for a long time, because you can play golf for a long time. Mm-hmm. And, but if we get into some poor habits and poor movement patterns, that's just, play on words, that we just don't move like we're supposed to, we're going to have some problems. And I'm a prime example of that with myself, with my own injuries throughout my athletic career and playing golf myself. So we might talk about that later, but we don't have to talk about it right now. So, that's all right. Anyways.
So one of the things that has been a reoccurring theme so far in our discussion is power and distance.
Yep.
Hitting the ball further.
Yep.
What I'm not hearing in this discussion is swing mechanics and being able to look better during the swing. Do those matter when you talk about them together? And do you directly approach both of those subjects, or do you kind of mainly hit on one of those, or how does that dynamic work?
Well, I would say I am not a swing coach. I truly believe everyone should have a swing coach or someone that looks at their swing. But as we go through our different classes and programs that we offer, you can pick things out as a professional, as a coach. I'm a movement coach. I see things. I tell people at the beginning, I'm not going to change your swing, but doing certain things might help how you swing, put you on a better path to hitting the golf ball. But there are two different things. I don't say that I'm a swing coach, and I don't think people want me to be their swing coach, but you start picking up patterns, and if something's grossly out of place, I'm going to say something and say, maybe not try it that way, especially if they're a beginner. Mm-hmm. And if someone's been playing for 25 years, that's a different story, because they kind of know how their body moves. Mm-hmm. But I might make a suggestion here and there. And a lot of people do ask for advice, and I try to say, you should seek out a golf professional to look at that part of your game.
Okay, so your programs will help build better power and distance. How, I think most people are obvious of how this improves their golf game, but in what ways does this actually improve somebody's golf game?
Sure. Every club has a different loft to it. And so the driver has the least amount of loft, so it goes, the ball should go the furthest if you hit it like we're supposed to. With every 1 mile an hour change in swing speed increases or decreases the flight of the ball by about 3 yards. 1 mile an hour equals 3 yards of distance, plus or minus if you hit it slower or faster. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden you swing the golf club even 3 miles an hour faster. That's 9 yards of potentially of getting further down the fairway. And all of a sudden now you're in the fairway, or you're in closer to the green. And if you hit it further, you should be able to take a higher lofted club to hit the ball to the green on its second shot, or we call it the approach shot. Well, the higher lofted club gives us more control, where we can hopefully get the ball closer to the pin on that shot. Instead of hitting a 5-iron, which travels much further than a 7-iron, if I had to choose between hitting a 5-iron or a 7-iron, I would prefer to hit the 7-iron because I'm going to have much greater control. Mm-hmm. So the further I can hit the ball with my driver, I should be able to hit a shorter iron into the green. Plus, every club that I hit besides the driver should be gaining distance also. I might hit a 9-iron, I'm just using numbers here, but let's say you hit a 9-iron 150 yards, mm-hmm. and all of a sudden you increase your driver by 9 yards. Well, you might not increase your 9-iron yardage by 9 yards, but maybe 5, and that can make could change if you hit a 9-iron or a pitching wedge. So now you're even getting a higher lofted club to make it easier to hit the green and get closer to the hole and hopefully score good on that hole. So that's kind of the premise of the reason behind power. So, we're trying to get the ball in the hole as the fewest shots possible. And if we're hitting it further, we should be able to, the thought process is to get it in the hole sooner. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the key word in there is should. You should be able to, yeah. But have you actually seen this play out in the people that you're coaching?
Absolutely. I just had we just finished an 8-week program with a group of clients here, and a gentleman was shooting in the mid to low 80s consistently, and he was going out and playing quite a bit, but he said he was increasing his drives by at least 15 yards. Wow. And he dropped his, he was starting to shoot in the 70s for the first time. So I think he told me he was, one of his best rounds was an 81, and he went out and shot a 77 a couple weeks ago, and he's very happy with how the ball's flying, and he's hitting the ball further. And it's also, just a side note, is he comes 2 days a week to my golf class, but he has started doing his own home exercise program because he can see the benefit of doing so. So, mm-hmm. It's what's that old adage, a body in motion tends to stay in motion, and we start moving, we like moving, and we're going to do a little bit more of it. But he definitely has shown some greater distance, and it has lowered his score. So, and he was pretty excited about when he came in and told me that the day that he played that round of 77. So
yeah. Now, is this individual you're talking about, is he an older individual, younger individual? He's in his early 40s. Okay. And he's been playing a while. Okay.
His family is a golf family. His dad, his sons play with him, and they love going out and playing together. And so there is a little bit of a competition because they are, the son that I was working with, I guess it was the grandfather, the son, and the grandson, they were all coming to the class together. Mm. And there was a little bit of competition between all three of them, but especially the son and the dad, they had a good time coming to the class. And right now the dad has a little bit of an upper hand on his son with scoring better. But they like going out and playing together. So
Yeah,
it's fun.
that is fun.
So it is kind of a thing for all ages. So
Yeah, very nice. So we've been talking a lot about power and distance. Let's talk a little bit about getting tired on the golf course. Is that something that tends to happen when you play golf? Do people sometimes get tired, especially as they play more holes?
sure, I would say that we should kind of break it down too. There is casual golf and there's competitive golf. I would say with the casual round of golf, you don't really realize it. It's much more, you're out there to have fun. But if you're playing in some competitive rounds or you're playing in some type of scramble and there's, a little bit more focus, you're going to notice a fatigue towards the last couple of holes, maybe even the last four. So we don't tend to, there's different ways of thinking about how to do a workout or exercise program too. We need to be able to take one aspect of power and strength and then also think about doing some things for endurance. We're not an endurance athlete like a runner or a cyclist, but you're on the golf course for 4 or 5 hours and you might be in a cart some, or you might be walking depending on what kind of circumstance you're under. You're just still going to be out in the sun and getting tired. So we try to do some exercises where it's a little prolonged. We're working on a little bit of cardiovascular, but just as we get in better shape, our cardiovascular output should be a little higher too. So I think that people don't realize that being out on a golf course for 4 or 5 hours can, if you don't see a drop off on your last few holes, you're kind of out of it. That's not normal for most golfers because most golfers don't train that way and they don't think about it that way. But I would imagine if you start looking at people's scorecards and look at their last hole 15, 16 through 18, you might see a drop off on their scores just because of fatigue, but also it's a mental fatigue because if your body's getting tired, your brain's getting tired, and you have to maintain focus for that many hours on the golf course.
And I don't know this at all, but I would imagine if fatigue was a real thing in golf, and I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but has anybody ever measured like ball speed or how hard people are hitting the balls on every hole? And does that change as the course goes on, or do you know the answer to that question?
I don't have a true answer because, especially in the past, technology is fantastic. They have TrackMan at every major golf tournament for the men and women, and they can start tracking those things. But if a lot of that data might not be known to the public, in the years past, you probably wouldn't see it to just the casual eye. Oh, Jack Nicklaus hit that drive 10 yards shorter than he normally does, and he's on number hole 17 on day 4 of the Masters or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think with technology and how we can track ball flight and ball distance and those things over time as more data continues to come in, we're going to see that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with, there's been a lot of technological changes in the game. It'll be very interesting to see how that gets incorporated to how people train, but also how a viewer will even watch us golf, what we're able to experience. I for one very much enjoy the flight path of the ball whenever, they're hitting the ball and you see the flight path on the screen. And I don't know about you, but when I look at a white ball in the sky, it's hard to see where it is. So the flight path thing is amazing when you're just even watching golf.
Well, if we could just do that when I'm really playing golf, I won't lose as many balls,
That's true too. Maybe they'll invent a ball where it like trails like blue cloud or something.
We need something for most of us, and my eyesight is not like it used to be. So I need someone young to keep an eye on my ball for me.
Well, these young eyes of mine still can't find it, so I think a blue mist behind the ball would be warranted.
We need some type of line out there.
That's right. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits of the older golfer.
Okay.
I do know that in one of your previous groups, you had primarily older golfers in one of your classes.
Yes.
In what ways do you find that strength and conditioning has benefited that age group?
Something that you probably wouldn't just, if you just looked at the strength and benefit of just coming to an exercise class, it was for balance. As our balance, as we age, our balance seems to be off a little bit more. I say we just don't do as much activities that force us or make us use our balance like we should. We walk on a very firm floors. You know, we have roads and sidewalks that are fairly smooth, and we don't have to worry about our balance. If you get on a golf course, you're walking on undulated greens and fairways, and out in the brush to go find a ball, and and then you have to stand over a golf ball where you have a uneven lie, and balance comes into effect a lot. And I'm a true believer that the stronger we are, our balance should be better. One of the things we do practice is we do practice balance in the class. And so it forces them to stand on one leg, try to move your extremities while you're doing something, not on a, you've seen people on the internet, on YouTube or something, where a golfer's standing on a Swiss ball swinging a golf club. I think that is silly, and then I'm not going to put an 80-year-old person on a Swiss ball.
Sure.
But I am going to work on some proprioceptive exercises, working the connection between the lower extremities or the legs and the feet through to the central nervous system to increase balance. And so we do lots of that in our exercises. We do it sometimes in our warm-ups, but there's something that's usually incorporated each class that we have for some type of, they might not know it's a balance exercise, but it's working on their balance. And so I say balance is, you look at any 6-year-old, and, if you and I were going to walk up, stand up and walk out of here and go to our car, we would just walk straight line. But you ask a 6-year-old to walk out to the car, what are they doing? They're twirling and skipping and hopping and cartwheeling, and they're working on their balance all the time. And I say, when we do some of these exercises in the class, I say this to people, I go, this is our playtime to work on our balance, where we don't even really realize that we're working on balance. So that's kind of one of the things that we do in class.
So balance can definitely help the aged golfer get better, mainly from being able to stand and hit the balls in undulating terrain, that kind of thing. But how does balance help anybody else other than, say, maybe an aged golfer? Is there something else that balance can help with, say, like a 30 or 40-year-old golfer?
Sure, because when we finish a golf swing, we want to finish on balance. The better we finish on balance and we have balance on our golf swing, the more consistent ball strike we're going to have when we make a swing. So if there's this undulation and we don't have strong balance, we're not going to hit the club face squarely, or we're not going to hit the sweet spot of the golf club, of the face of the club. So yeah, it's going to make a huge difference. And then just finishing with good balance shows that we have control of the golf swing. The golf swing doesn't have control of us, so to speak. So you'll see people when they finish, they wobble or they take a step because they're a little bit off balance, and that has a huge effect on the golf, on the flight of the ball, or when you make contact on the ball. And so it's a big deal. So
yeah. And I think you can see this across not just in golf, but other sports as well. There's something to balance and practicing your neuromuscular development. There's the viral video about Alvin Kamara standing on a Swiss ball, and they're tossing these little 3-pronged objects to him, and they're calling out colors, and he has to catch the colors. He's standing on the ball. It's silly. It looks a little silly, but there's a reason why they do that.
Right.
And it's not necessarily to help him from falling over as he's walking out of the class, but to help him improve himself as an athlete with his power development and things like that. Which I typically find that across all domains of sports, if you want to be more powerful, balance comes into play.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, they go hand in hand. You can't have good balance and be strong, and you can't be strong and not have good balance. They they go together.
Yeah.
So if you're working one, the other one should be worked on too. So.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna start wrapping this up a little
Okay.
bit. For the future of golf fitness, where do you see the future as we're going past 2023 in today's recording? Where do you see, professionals and the future of this moving towards?
Well, I think if you look at any of the golf professionals on the women's side and then on the men's side, they have a professional that helps them with their strength and conditioning. You throw out a name and I'll say they have a strength professional. They have a team. I think Tiger started that, and everyone knows some of the injuries that he's gone through, but he was kind of the pioneer, and usually the pioneer has a bunch of, what's the old saying, it has a lot of arrows in his back because he was the one leading the way. And it's only going to get better, and there's going to be more people participating in that because they're going to start seeing others who are already doing it making gains on them, and it's just going to keep moving forward. People will continue to see it has changed because of Tiger, seeing them as golfers as athletes instead of a recreational sport, but it's only going to continue to move forward that way. You look at some of these guys and they're athletes. I'll use Brooks Koepka. I mean, he looks like an athlete. He played. You put him on a football field and go, oh yeah, he fits in this place. Even some of these other guys, you look at them on the camera on the TV and you go, he's not really an athlete. But most of these guys played multiple sports in high school and college. And there's one of the golfers who won the U.S. Open a couple of years ago. He played NCAA D1 basketball.
Wow.
And then he went. He played for a year or two at Wichita State, and then he went to Kansas and finished up just playing golf. But he goes, he goes, I can't split my time between the two sports at this point anymore. I've got to choose one or the other, and he chose golf. And so they're athletes. We're going to see more athletic golfers out on the golf course.
Very good, very good. So we're going to go ahead and close now.
Okay.
Where can people find out more about you? What kind of social media presence do you have? All that kind of stuff.
Facebook, Balm City Golf Performance, and you can even find information on our Total Physical Therapy website about our golf programs here.
All right. Well, Lee, thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Ben.
I'm glad that we were able to do this, and I appreciate you being available and willing to do this as well.
Oh, no, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.